So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our webinar today. My name is Fiona Borthwick. I'm Head of Sales and Account Management here at OpenFifth. Um, Today's webinar, we are going to give a very brief introduction into Metabase and what you can do with it in your library service, looking at the reporting functionality and the dashboards and just generally how you can really use this powerful service and the powerful reporting tool and see the benefits to your service. So what is Metabase? Well, as you would expect, because it's a product that we support, it is an open source software. It's a business analytics tool. It's web-based and it's very, very easy to use and it's very powerful, which I hope in this next 20 minutes or so you'll actually see the power that's behind it. It is important to note that there is no technical knowledge required. Again, hopefully you'll see just from this brief demonstration that it's very easy to sort of put queries together and deliver the output in a nice visual way. You can ask questions and get the results immediately on screen. And it is pretty much real-time data that you're getting when it's taking the data from your data sets. You can create dashboards, and we'll spend a bit of time looking at them today, and they can be set to refresh regularly. And you can share those dashboards as I'll demonstrate on a view-only basis. So you'll be able to share that link to like senior managers and so on, and they won't have to log in to be able to see the data. So I thought I'd begin by looking at some of the threats to the library services and where Metabase can help with these. So as we're all familiar with, there's a lot going on in the library industry at the moment. There's an awful lot of budget cuts taking place. The library branches have been closed or maybe having a reduction in hours. There's a rapidly changing information landscape and keeping everything relevant and making sure that the data that the library holds is accessible to all. There is also, especially more in the public sector, perhaps a declining public perception of library relevance. And there's an awful lot, especially just now, about censoring your data and therefore limiting the collections. So having a look at just some of these threats, Metabase can help the library service by helping you to improve operations by producing that data that you need to help make decisions. It's got very nice visualization to it, so you can demonstrate the library impact very quickly using nice, colourful metrics. You can obviously identify your expenditure and you can track your usage resources as well by running reports on the system and getting that information out. What we can also use Metabase for is having a look at the statistical data and identifying underserved populations or specific categories of users, and that would help to streamline things to get those your library service known there. And of course, we can demonstrate diversity of collections as well. So just before I go on to do a demonstration, just a little bit more about some of the integration between Koha and Aspen with Metabase. If you're a customer of ours, then we tend to use a replication server for your Metabase. And that is so that we can carry out these queries on that replication server so that the performance on production server is not affected in any way. You can use your Koha reports or the community library and just copy and paste those SQL queries directly into Metabase. So if you've got reports already set up in Koha that you want to put into Metabase, you don't need to restart them. You can just get the query from Koha and put it in. It does have its own URL because it's a separate product. So it is outside of Koha, but the two integrate well, and you can connect multiple data sets to Metabase for cross-analysis as well. I've just put a quick link in here as well to show you how you can integrate dashboards within applications. So here I'm logging into, well, not logging in actually, I'm just looking at an Aspen interface, one of our demo sites, but this actually is a dashboard that's coming from Metabase, and we've just embedded it into our Aspen interface, which our library users can see. Now, a couple of things just to think about before you begin a query is finding out what you want to know before you start is really beneficial. So what is the question you're trying to answer? So for example, in this case, what were the most popular borrowed books last year by library members? So that's what I want to find out. So then I need to break it down and define the criteria. So what do we mean by last year, for example? What selections do I need to make to output that information? Do I want to output the author, the title, the number of checkouts? And how do I want the results to look? So do I want a table? Do I want a graphical chart or something? And how do I want the data to be ordered? That kind of thing. So let's have a look at what I've just spoken about very briefly. So I'm just going to come on to here. And the first thing is I have to log in to Metabase. So you can see that it has got its own URL at the top here. So it's accessible through its own URL. And I can just log in. Now, obviously, administrators can set the logins for their staff. And you can do fancy things with logins, like assign them to specific groups, which would then determine what they could see within Metabase. And that's all covered within the training. So what are we seeing once we've logged in? In the middle of the screen, we get welcomed. And it presents us with pick up where you've left off. So notice what I was looking at previously, and I can go straight into one of those areas if I want to. I've got a search bar at the top right, which you would expect allows me to search across everything that's on Metabase. We'll come back to that later. My new button here gives me the option to create new questions, new dashboards, etc. And on the left-hand side, I've got a collapsible menu using the hamburger option there. And I can have direct access into the different collections that we've got configured on this system. And I can browse into the connected database or databases. So as I mentioned briefly, you can have multiple data sets ingested into Metabase. So let's have a look at some of this. If I have a look at the demonstration collection, you can see that I've got a number of dashboards set up, and underneath that, I've got different reports that have been set up within this collection. So the list of the reports here, I can just click on these at any time to run them, but they also show how the output of the report was set when they were set up. So for example, the count of borrowers by branch code has got a little bar chart next to it. So clicking on the report tells me it's doing the science, and then it gives me that bar chart. So this is a report that has been set up and been saved to the collection. So I can get this information, which is real-time data, without having to run the query again because I've already set it up. And obviously, when I hover over it, I can get a little bit more information on it as well. So within this category, you can tell it's that 5,000 and odd in there too. And if I have a look at the next one, which is the count of resource types, you can see that this is a pie chart. So again, when I click on there, got my pie chart. It's not very exciting, but you can see that it is a predefined report again with the different type. And another one to look at is our duplicate users. The icon here represents a table, and when I click on that, you can see that the output there is presented in a table. So let's have a look now at some of the dashboards, and we can talk about the different content and visualizations. So if we have a look at, again, in our demonstration collection, if we have a look at this main library dashboard, you can see that we've got a variety of different visualizations in here. So we've got a bar chart representing issues over the last 12 months. We've got a different type of chart here representing circulation by month over a year. We've got quite a good pie chart, which is main library borrowers by category codes. And then coming down, you can see we've got some other charts up here too. And you can see that with pie charts, you get a key. And then when we hover over the different things, you get more information appearing here too. So it's really useful. If we have a look at another dashboard, let's have a look at this time at the catalogue one. A little bit of a different type of look to this. We've also got a table embedded into this dashboard, and we've got a copyright date range of items. And again, we can hover over and get more information, but I just wanted to show you the options available at the top right. Here we can edit the dashboard, so we can click and we can move things about quite easily. So if I wanted this underneath here, I can just move that, and it just moves them, click and drop. We can resize. So if I wanted this one to be a little bit smaller, I can just pull it in as well and resize it and make it a little bit smaller and things like that. So you can really easily modify your dashboards. We've also got, if I just cancel from there, and I'll just discard my changes, we've got subscriptions. We can allow people to subscribe to emails and Slack, and that way you can subscribe to any new data. We've got sharing links, so we can create a public link for the dashboard, or we can create a link that we're going to embed. So if I was to create this public link, and it gives me a link here, if I just copy that link, and then if I paste it into my browser, just to show you, you can see now that the user just gets given the dashboard. There's no option for them to log in. They can't do anything with it. They can't edit it or anything. Okay, so it's a really good way of being able to share your dashboards. And you've got an auto refresh option here as well. So this data can be set to automatically refresh at any one of these selected given intervals. So the data can constantly, every 5 minutes, that dashboard can refresh. And we've got the little green icon in there too. I can bookmark the dashboard, and I've got some information about it as well, which maintains an audit trail of who did what to the dashboard. And finally, you've got on your three dots, you've got the ability to export as a PDF, which can be useful to send as well to people, and you can duplicate and so on from there. Now I'm going to do a search just to show you something else. I'm going to do a search, and this time I'm going to search for Andrew because I want to have a look at Andrew's dashboard just to show you something a little bit different. Same kind of ideas, different types of queries have been run and put on a dashboard, and you've got pie charts and tables and so on. But further down, we've got a really good bit of data, which is the deprivation and library usage. And just wait for that to be loaded. There we go. So you can see here, and this actually is an example we set up to show how Metabase can interrogate more than one data set. So in this particular example, we linked up with data from a deprivation index, and it then allows library service to see the more deprived areas and do some targeting outreach and so on. So it's just quite a good example to show you. Now, before looking at how to actually construct a report and add it to a dashboard, I just wanted to have a look at some of the other things you can do with Metabase in the form of x-raying the data. So again, going back to our menu on the left-hand side, I am going to click on the databases, and this shows us all the database sets that we've got linked into our demo Metabase. I'm going to click on the Koha database, and from there I then get a list of all the tables that reside within Koha. And I'm going to select items. So an items database in Koha, which is here. And I'm going to just click on that, and automatically what Metabase is going to load is details of the items that we have in the collection in our Koha system. I can filter these results. So I can do, for example, I can do let's say a location is let's have a look. So you can see you've got all your different filters in here if you wanted to make any kinds of applications. So let's just say I wanted to change my item type, and I wanted to see item type of AB, and I can apply that filter, and it redoes the data for me, and it keeps the filter up here, so I can continue down with that filter if I wanted to. I've got the summarise options here as well. So I can have a look at the different summaries and I can see that I can summarise by account or I can add a different metric and I can choose how I want to group it by as well. So let's just say I want to group by so group by collection code, for example, click done, and then it will regenerate that and give me my data presented in a chart in this case here as well. I'll just go back to where I was. So it's going to just generate, I could just use my breadcrumb trail again and I get taken right back to where I was. If I go back one stage further and have a go back to my items tile that we were looking at, I am just going to show you these icons to the right hand side. First of all, I have got the I option here, the learn about this table option gives us information, and this can be really useful as it allows you to see things about what name is correct in the database and potentially useful questions that are in there. In addition, you've got a list of all the fields that are in the table. You can do questions about this table and automatically gives you a list of everything that's been asked on Metabase and saved that queries this particular table. And we can also x-ray this table. And this was the other icon that was available on that tile as well. Now, by x-raying the table, this gives you a quick look at the data and you can zoom in and filter for more information. So you can see at a glance, again, without having constructed a query, how many items there are. And you can see here all the different charts and metrics about how these items are distributed. And over on the right-hand side, we can zoom in a little bit more. So if I was interested to zoom in on the data accession fields, then I can do that and it redoes the data for me. And let's say I was interested in zooming in on the replacement price fields. Again, click on that and it's still then just refreshing the data that it's giving me and giving me new figures and statistics. Not once yet throughout this demo have I actually constructed a query. I'm just looking at the data that's already on the system and working with it. However, I am now going to do a new query just to show you how it works. So I'm going to come into this new button and select a question. So I'm going to create a new question on Metabase and it says pick your starting data. So I'm going to say that I am going to query the borrowers database. So let's select borrowers. I'm going to select my starting data of borrowers. Over on the right-hand side, it does give me SQL that it can potentially use. And if you watch that, you'll see that changing as I move on. I am then going to do some filters. So I'm going to add filters to narrow my answers. So I'm going to look for category. So I'm going to filter by category code. Now I've got the option is not, etc. So I'm going to leave it as is. And then I'm going to select PT for patron in this case. I'm going to add that filter. I can continue to add more filters if I want to do that, but as time's against my will currently, I'm going to summarise by the count of rows, and I'm going to group by, let's group by branch. So my query now, I've got my SQL query that's derived from this, but I don't need to know SQL because I've done it all through the graphical interface. So I'm searching my borrowers table for any users of a category code of patron, PT, and I'm going to summarise it as a count of rows by branch code. So let's just click visualise at this point, and it automatically gives me a table, and there are my branch codes as I asked it to do in row format. Now, by default, it has given me the table, but here I've got my visualization options and I can see the other options that are available. So I can make a bar chart, for example. I can make a pie chart, or let's have another one. Let's have a look at this line chart, that kind of thing. Now you can do a lot more with your visualization. You can change your colors and you can do all sorts of things as well. So you've got your settings here and you can say what your axis should be and how it should be displayed and so on. Just finally, I'm going to save this. You get the option now to save the question. So you can choose where you want it saved to. So let me just save it to our demo collection. You can put a description in, you can obviously give it a name. And when you click save, at that point, you're then asked if you want to add it to a dashboard. And you can say that you do want it to add to a dashboard or not, and then you get given your list of dashboards. So that concludes my very brief demonstration. Just to return to the slides to just finish off, what is a Metabase implementation with us here at OpenFifth? Well, we would host your Metabase instance for you on a server, one of our hosting providers. We do deliver a full training package where we go through the administration, so setting up of logins and so on, but obviously how to get the best use out of the system in terms of running the queries and the different things you can do with the dashboards and so on. Obviously, if you are one of our customers, then you would have full access to our help desk for all end user support. And you will have access to our trained data specialists and experts in SQL as well, who are always very happy to lend a hand to get the data syntax correct should you need them. So if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about Metabase, then do have a look on our website. I have put new in quotes here. Our website has had a bit of a refresh following our name change. So do have a look on it if you haven't recently. You will see it's been updated. It's still got the same look and feel and branding, but we've got some more content in there and some different styles of pages. So there is a products page for Metabase. There is a Metabase website. Obviously, directly you can go and get information on, look at the documentation. And of course, do feel free to email us for any further information. And we're very happy to give you a more detailed demonstration at any time. And just to conclude, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Since our name change, our handle has changed, so we are now at OpenFifth Limited, to make sure you subscribe to there. It's upcoming webinars for the next 2 months in this quarter, so we have 2 in May and 2 in June. If you haven't already registered to attend these, please do register again through our website. And we look forward to seeing you at future webinars. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope you found that useful.